Welcome everyone back to the Pommy and Oz channel. Hope we're all doing really well. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe. The support this year has been overwhelming. You guys have really got around me, you guys and girls. So if you want to become a member, you can take a step further, become a financial support in this channel. We do all sorts. We're going to do a load of individual live streams for the members, covering the draft and all your off-season content. And we've got the big one this weekend. Tomorrow we've got Collingwood versus Brisbane in what shapes to be an absolute ripping final. Congratulations to both sides. They have probably been the two best sides in the league this year. And although one of them's my direct rival and one of them is the one that's kicked me to the curb, it should shape up to be an absolute ripping final. And let's get into the preview. And let's look at some names that really could make or shape this. And looking at the Norm Smith, we're looking at Collingwood here, we're looking at Jordan De Goey. And Jordan De Goey's year has been absolutely amazing this year. You look at him coming in from the midfield, slotting across the forward line. He's really that break glass in case of emergency player for Collingwood Football Club. The 38.1% of his possessions are contested. This is more of a standout to what Collingwood do. A lot of people make out when you look at Collingwood players, oh, they're not very tough, or they don't do it. Their pressure indicators usually actually tell an opposite tale. Their game style is around getting the ball away from a contest, getting the ball on the outside, not playing into that contested brand. It is a really fast game style, and you can see here the 2.3 tackles, the 0.5 goals. These are over the last 5 games played. The 1.3 rebound 50s, more of an offensive player. The 4.3 inside 50s, the 6.5 clearances, just under 60 metres gained. That is a big part of McRae's game style. Getting the ball forward, getting it front and centre, getting it ahead and getting it into the areas. The 17.3 pressure acts, the 4.5 ground ball gets and the 6 score involvements in the last 5 games, really impressive. He's really a key cog and he's going to be someone that will have a say in this game and definitely be one of them players that you look at to see who wins and why. For Brisbane Lions, the reigning Brownlow medalist Lachie Neale, and you can see here a different game style. We talked about Brisbane and how they played last week. We'll play a bit more into it this week, but 53.3% of his possessions are contested. And this is why he polls well with the umpires. Always in and under and in that noticeable area. The 3.8 tackles, no goals in the last 5 games. 1 rebound 50, 3.8 inside 50s, the staggering 7.2 clearances. And again, this is how their midfield works. They don't mind going through the corridor, do Brisbane. They're quite happy to take the contact, give and go and give on to a runner. And that is why these metres gained aren't as high as you can see when you look at the Collingwood players. 21 pressure acts, 10.8 ground ball gets and 5.4 score involvements. He is massively involved in a lot of things that they do, particularly in the build-up of what they do. So there or thereabouts for the best on ground performance. Up next, Nick Daicos. Absolute terrific footballer. Very unlucky not to win the Brownlow this year. If he'd played a few more games, probably would have taken it out. Now, this is the big contentious part. 34.6 contested possession percentage. People say that he's a freeloader, he gets on the outside. I think that is a real injustice when you look at other players that play his role, and that is off the half-back, pinch hitting in the middle. Very similar contested numbers to players that do that, but also the way that McRae plays, he is getting on the outside. He is too good to get in that contested possessions. The 4 tackles, no goals, 3 rebound 50s, 5 inside 50s, 6 clearances. Again, this game style of McRae, get the ball forward, get it into the hot zones, get it working. 18.6 metres gained, 22 pressure acts and the 7 ground ball gets. Again, negating that soft tag. He is a player that does go and get his own ball and gets the hungry ball and the 2 score involvements. Absolutely terrific type numbers and will be someone that stands out in this one game situation. Hugh McCluggage might be a surprise to some. I know people are going with Dunkley. I suspect he will play more of a negating role, which will take away from his game. But Hugh McCluggage is one of them players that constantly gets forgotten about when you talk about Brisbane. The most consistent performer for me in the last 10 rounds. 46.4% contested possessions. That 2.8 tackles, 0.8 goals. Real crafty how he gets that give and go, particularly from about 60 and bombs it in. Usually getting a cheap little goal there. Very, very good from the centre clearance when Brisbane look to get that ball going with handball chains. 0.8 rebound 50s, the 4.6 inside 50s. 5 clearances, again 14.2 metres gained. Looks to keep that ball being rotated in that midfield. 20.2 pressure acts, 8 ground ball gets, 7.8 score involvements. Really will be one of them players to look out for. And they're my 4 picks for the best on ground. Let's look at what these teams do then. Collingwood this year have been sensational. And these numbers are taken over the last 5 rounds. They play a really rambunctious style of football, and it's really get the ball from A to Z as quickly as possible. 61% kicking of the time, which just shows you there that they really are that kind of handball stun run, look for that short hit-up kick and get the game going very quickly. Just under 72% disposal efficiency. The rebound 50s, 47.4 per game. Sorry, the inside 50s. So it doesn't get bombed in. They look at quality looks, and that is why when you look, quite a high mark inside 50 rate there. It's quality looks. It's really pushing you out of position and maximising what they do with the ball. 79.0% rebound 50 rates. When you've got around that 80% inside 50s against you becoming counter and your ability to score off transition, that makes a recipe for disaster. It means you're always in the games, even when you might not be. As the GWS game showed, their ability to counterpunch is insane. 16.4 metres gained, the -6 contested possession differential. This is what we mean. People look at this and it's a very 1980s method where we've gone from the days of punching someone in the centre field. You look at the top teams in all world of sport, it's about avoiding the tough stuff because skill is quicker than muscle, and that is why, and that's what they do. They look to get it away from these congested areas, and the teams that have had success against them have made it a contested game style, slowed it down, but that creates its own risk. You saw with Carlton versus Brisbane, when you're condensing areas, that makes you vulnerable to be hitting on the outside, and all it takes is that handball out the back, and that is something that McRae does quite a bit, particularly with Degoe and Nick Dacos and Josh Dacos and Scott Pendlebury. Hang them out the back of the stoppage. Handball out the back, a little bit like George Gregan used to in his rugby playing days. Get it out there to the player to be able to pinpoint and get through you. 27.4 marks inside 50 rate, meaning you're going to have real good opportunities at goal. You want that in the high 20s, 30s if you can. And this is a big cornerstone. Their tackles, their pressure. This is for 4 quarters. They really do hurry you, worry you, and try and get you off your kilter, with 48.9% of their inside 50s resulting in a shot at goal. Brisbane really been a really strong outfit, particularly in the back half of the year. 66.2%. They really do look to get the ball going forward by foot and get metres gained very quickly. 71.6 disposal efficiency, showcasing it. You saw it against Carlton. It's a lot of short hit up and then runs from there. They really do look to push you and pull you and pull you around. They love playing these zonal systems, same as Collingwood. Collingwood, different method, but Brisbane, very similar success rate. The 58.4 inside 50s, they do generate shots with their forwards. They've got 2 very strong keys in Eric Hipwood and Joe Danaher. It makes sense that they're launching this in. Where you look at Collingwood, different personnel, especially with Dan McStay out. They're not going to bomb it in. They're looking for quality short hit-up leads with Brody Myercheck. These guys have got the beef there. 75.1 rebound 50 rate, as you'd expect. With the players they've got in their back line, they do counter-punch very well. And the 17.8 metres gained, like we say, they get the ball going, they get it going forward. Not scared of the contesting, and that is when you look at their personnel. You look at their personnel, Dunkley, Neil, players like that, very strong in the contest. It makes sense for them to be strong in that area. With the clearance differential being +4, they are a very understated clearance side and stoppage side, particularly with the way they move it. They look, though, with their one deficiency, they look to go first, where some teams like Carlton look to negate that if they can't get out of there. Brisbane really do play a Hail Mary style in that clearance, and it can kill them at times, and it's going to be interesting against Collingwood, who do look for that very quick get it forward, how that looks in this matchup. 21.6 marks inside 50 rate. With the quality they've got in there, you would expect that to be a bit higher. But, again, that comes from the lot of inside 50s, a lot more than them. The 54.2 tackles per game, again, also against your opposition. Collingwood have probably played some fiercer opposition to what their numbers, but it has been a traditional thing throughout the year. Brisbane rely on their ball use, where Collingwood probably don't have the ball use down pat like Brisbane, but they negate that with their very strong strength around there. And 48.3 chance creation, as you can see, very similar to Collingwood's. Let's look at that when that matches up. And as you can see, obviously, we've talked about it, Brisbane kick more. And this is where you can beat them. You soak out and have great success when you increase the length of the kick. You make them go down the line. And that is something that Collingwood are very proficient at, particularly in the forward half of the ground. For Brisbane, though, it's the same model to beat Carlton. It's taking that pressure and then when it relents, really maximising it and scoring in clusters. And this is something that both sides can do. They can concede 5 goals, but quite easily kick 5 goals themselves in the next quarter. Disposal efficiency, very, very loose advantage to Collingwood. The inside 50s, this is it. And this is its own problem for Brisbane, but its own strength. If they are quality 65 hit-ups and that extra kick, and probably the best team in the league at getting that extra kick all the time, that helps. But if they are going to them shallow entries, which they are guilty of doing at times, disaster zones when you've got players like Darcy Moore, Nick Dacos, who can take that intercept, handball off, and they will counter-punch you. Brisbane play a very, very forward press, and we saw Carlton have success in that first quarter against it. Can Collingwood match that pressure for 4 quarters? If anything of the history of this year has gone by, yes, they will. Metres gained, again, Brisbane a little bit more direct. Contested possessions, massive in favour of Brisbane. And the clearance, not as much as you'd expect. And that just shows that the Tom Mitchell acquisition has been sensational for them. That is a key battleground in this game. Who gets control of the pill? Marks inside 50 rate into Collingwood. Again, we told you, less entries, more quality. A very onus on quality deep entries there. Massive in the tackle numbers to Collingwood, and the chance creation being there. And that's going to be a real key battleground in this, maximising them chance creations. Who can get the ball in and then get it shifted and making sure you leave without not scoring. Let's look at this quarter by quarter, and it's a really interesting tale of the tape. Collingwood, for all that talk about their 4th quarters, in the last 5 it has kind of relented. Their strongest quarter is that 3rd. They really do control the game. And you saw that with GWS. They can contain and they almost get teams to run. And it's been interesting that McRae has talked about they haven't played their game style for a few weeks. And that's probably true. The numbers tell that difference. This game here is all or nothing. And I expect to see a massive shift in all 4 quarters, particularly in that 2nd and 3rd, where I think that's the key battleground. You can see, even for quarters run in that place, Brisbane do start well and they do finish strong. It's the middle 2 quarters is where both of these sides. Brisbane have won more quarters over the last 5, 14 of the 20 versus 11, but not much really telling in here. There's a lot of excuses that you can legitimately make for both sides for losing their quarters. It's going to be a really interesting battle. And what does that say? So obviously the back line versus the forward line is in favour of Collingwood. However, Brisbane do have the slight edge in TPI over the other things. And it's interesting because Collingwood are predicted to lose this by 4. My gut feeling here is actually that Collingwood win this by 12. And the reason is, I think the atmosphere, I think that the magnification of the situation, the home ground advantage, I do think that will tell. And it'll be interesting. There is a lot of data that shows you Brisbane at the Gabba are a different animal versus Brisbane at the G. Not much different, but enough to make it interesting. I think this is going to be a great game. I'm really looking forward to watching this one as a neutral. There's negatives and positives from both sides winning for me. But this should be a good game. Good luck to both sides. I hope it's a really good one. I hope you spend the day with your family and loved ones. Enjoy it if you're a neutral. Make it hungry for next year. And hopefully I'll be doing this with my team next year. But much love, everyone. Draft profiles coming up all this weekend, so stay tuned for that. Tune in to me and Faz tonight. Much love. Peace.
Pulling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad.